your take on celebrity sex tapes, particularly Pam and Tommy. Okay, so what sparked this episode was the Pamela Anderson love story documentary and also the TV series, although they're not produced by the same people. Anyway, I actually found it relatable. But why, Sheila Bella, do you find it relatable? Is it because you have a deep, dark secret? Did it happen to us? Sorry, clickbait. Is it because I have a dark past or maybe you have a dark past? Find out today on
Date night.
So here on Pretty Much Podcast. So go ahead.
No, it really is a love story. That's the way
the
you and I watch. That's why we like the Hulu show. That's why we like the documentary. That's why we like the idea, joking around thing of like Pam and Tommy is like the two of them, as crazy as they are, and they're not even together anymore and stuff like that.
It was love.
There was a moment
in
time where they were like deeply, deeply in love. And it's not
in it.
But and it's not just fleeting. Like anyone can be in love. We're actually going to see Titanic tonight with the kids. That's like in the movie theater by us. So we're gonna go show the kids the movie.
Both
Titanic.
of them could have fit on the raft. They could have both fit on the raft.
Well, but they were together for like 3 days. It's easy to be passionate for 3 days. It's easy to be passionate for a couple of months even. But this couple was passionate for a few years. They were passionate for a few days to the point where they said, let's get married. And then they were deeply in love for several years. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, 2 kids, like were deeply into parenthood. And then, you know, it spiraled off when she gave more attention to the kids and stuff like that. But like, I mean, they were deeply in love for several years, for a long time. And I think still to this day, they would probably, I think she said, like, that was like the love of my life. Like, it is a love story, even though it burned out fast. You know, I mean, you can go through a tank of gas, you know, like in like, you know, a week, or you can go through it in an afternoon, depends on how hard you push on that right pedal. And they pushed on that right pedal pretty hard in their love. And it was like crazy and passionate and stuff like that. But it was definitely a love story. And I think that's the part that you and I like.
People are just flawed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That part's relatable. It's like, oh, that's how that feels in art form, you know, in this movie. I remember feeling that way. Or I feel that way even sometimes in our marriage now after being together for 12 years.
Yeah.
So we crazy. I think that's also, I think that's why it was relatable to a point where we felt like we had a podcast about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's nice to be in love. And I think it's inspiring. Nice. And it's like if you can see elements of, hopefully the good elements of yourself and your relationship in that kind of crazy, iconic relationship of the 1990s, I think there's some positive things to extract from it.
I agree. I think that's what I would not, you know, all the bad things, but like all the good things about that relationship. I would hope our children experience something that happy.
Yeah, even
if it's fleeting.
Yeah, even in the sex tape, I think there's an element of like girls like, I wish I looked like that. Guys, like, I wish I could, you know, whatever, have sex like that. Like, I wish I could be in love. There's something iconic about looking at this couple in that time 30 years ago to be like, that's like something to aim for. Married, trying to make a baby, rich,
on a yacht,
good looking, on a yacht. It's like, it checks a lot of boxes for like a fantasy.
It's emotional.
That's not a fleeting, shallow fantasy. It's a deep fantasy. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. It's deep. It's not, that's what I keep saying. Like, sex is more than just.
And they're flawed individuals, because he's like always smoking and he's kind of crazy rock star with all the tattoos and stuff. And she's, you know, like a sex symbol who's not taken seriously. She has her own issues, but they're like weaknesses or whatever. They're like flaws. They really love those flaws about each other and deeply accepted each other with their flaws. It's I don't know. It was really neat to watch and learn about the two of them.
I agree.
No,
we were just at the marriage conference today, and Justice said something about, like, I don't care what you say, but sex is spiritual. Money is spiritual. Sex is spiritual. Like, what are your thoughts on that? It's like everything you said.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be like the highest, like one of the highest forms of, like, you know, human expression experience. There's a reason why from the time you hit puberty, you are, I mean, these little boys or boys are obsessed with sex, and guys, their whole lives are obsessed with sex, and girls are too. They're obsessed with love.
They're obsessed with love.
So this is like the one of the biggest things that you're aiming for.
I'm a little different.
Well,
I like both.
Yes. I think women like both, but I think overall, like a general heuristic or something like that would be like, women are are always looking towards love, and men are always looking towards sex to some degree. So to see that, it's going to be something that resonates with people.
I think it's because, and it solidified it for me now, like, why are we so moved by couples? Why are we so moved by romantic, relationships? And me personally, I think it's because it mirrors God's love for his church. The church is Jesus's bride. It's Christ's bride. And I think that is in our DNA. It's like we see that, this sacrificial type of love, and then we see something pure and we aim for that and we want that. And for me, even as a little girl, like, it's like Valentine's Day just passed, and it's like, I understand that people are posting a lot of like unrealistic photos and their highlight reel of this is like the love of their life and everything looks so perfect and the flowers and the chocolates and like, oh, look how good he is to me. Right. And, it's real. I do caution, women against like looking at all of these like Valentine's Day posts or like, these Instagram posts of them and their significant other, to understand that, yes, that is not the full story. Obviously, no one's posting any Instagram reels of them like fighting or anything like that. I understand that. I caution against that. And also, I caution against becoming bitter from like looking at all this stuff, thinking like, oh, that's so unrealistic, or, like, oh my gosh, like love is so stupid, like that's not real. I caution against that too, because as a female, you want that for a reason. Women, I think, are obsessed with like flowers and candy and romance and the Notebook, for crying out loud. Because I think as feminine beings, like we all desire to be loved, cherished, adored, protected. I think that is such a deep, deep desire. So don't shun that. That's part of you. Being a female is very complex, and that is also a part of you.
Yeah, and getting back to the spiritual, just one of those last thing is like connecting that with this Pamela Anderson, Tommy Lee tape is like, that seemed like they had a healthy sex life, I guess, to say the least. So like to be able to do that when you are married and trying to have children, which is aligned with like what the Bible says, essentially, like that's, I think, something, you could,
First Corinthians 7.
you could look at it. Yeah. You could look at it and say like, oh, it's just like two people having sex. It's just like every other porn, but it's not. This isn't like meet in a hotel, meet the actor. Let's do this. Let's like, it was like the real deal.
Yes.
It's like, it was aligned with essentially I guess we'd say, especially for like our sons, is like the ideal way for you to have sex in your life is to be passionate, good sex with
somebody you're married,
someone you're deeply in love with, married, trying to make a baby, trying to bring a baby into a loving environment. Like that hits on all levels. It's not always possible, but like that's what you should be the aim. That's the ideal.
Right.
So again, that story of like the ideal being caught on video is interesting, I guess, and that's why it's worth
very, very interesting. Yeah. It's not like any other, pornography film ever created, I think. It's very special.
You got this. You got this. Yeah. By the way, did you know that I offer free beauty business advice through text message? All you need to do is text me your question and tell me that you found me on YouTube to 310-388-4588. I am so happy to help.
Pamela Anderson is a blonde bombshell from Canada who was the OG Baywatch babe. She's got curves for days and a smile that could light up a room. But that's not all she's known for, is it?
No. She was like a rising kind of Marilyn Monroe style person, like a sex symbol and Playboy, Playmate of the Year and Baywatch and everything like that. I mean, one of the most famous, like, sex symbols in the world. And then she was married to this rock star from an 80s hair band called Motley Crue, like who are just known for being like hardcore partiers. And the drummer was formerly married to Heather Locklear. I don't know if you knew that. Tommy Lee. And then
she's hot too.
Yeah. And then they got,
and his current wife's hot too.
There you go. Well, he got married to Pamela Anderson like very early, like within the first week of meeting her, and everyone's like, oh, it's crazy, it'll never last or whatever. But they were together for several years, and
they had 2 kids.
Her only kids are with him. Yeah. And and they recorded everything. Apparently they had like video cameras.
Yeah. Even before iPhones, like,
yeah, of like everything, just daily life, but that includes their sex life. And they had like a pretty hardcore, like very intimate, passionate sex life. And they were robbed.
good for them.
They were robbed one night of a safe, and it had a bunch of guns in it and personal belongings. And in that were these home movies. And within the home movies were sex tapes. And the person who robbed them pulled out all the scenes of the sex tape and started selling VHS tapes, and then eventually put it on the internet. So it was the very beginnings of the internet. And it was one of those things where it's like, she is the sex symbol. And what does it look like when she has sex? And then now it just answered all the questions.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to note that the distribution of this sex tape was a violation of their privacy. And they were devastated when it leaked, even though she's been in Playboy and things like that, which we're going to talk about. We just watched her documentary and it was thought provoking.
Well, we watched the Hulu show when it came out,
did.
the Seth Rogen produced Hulu
And then
show.
we said, that's us.
And we liked it. And then with the documentary came out, and we watched that. So I think it's like just like the two of those. But this is very different than like arguably the most famous like sex symbol now would be Kim Kardashian, who also rose to fame through a sex tape. Very different situation. Because the Kim Kardashian sex tape is now being revealed that was released and promoted by her mom.
Is that real?
Yes, because
I believe everything I read on the internet.
Allegedly. But that's how we got to know Kim Kardashian. We knew Pamela Anderson before this. It was a very different thing, but Kim Kardashian rose to fame because of O.J. Simpson's attorney and friend's daughter is having sex with Ray J.
With Ray J.
Yeah.
I met that guy.
Okay.
Nice fellow.
Okay.
Well, so this raised questions like, celebrity sex tapes. Are you treated differently in the world if you are a sex symbol or a sex worker, like porn stars struggle to get loans? Yeah. Is there such a thing as pretty privilege? Why is it okay to violate rights of celebrities? Like it kind of is okay, and that's probably not good. It also raised the question of like, what does money do to people? Does it corrupt? Does it reveal? Also, if we had photos or videos leaked like that, what would we do? Okay, so we're going to talk all about that here on PRP Date Night.
So what are your thoughts on the idea of you being treated in the world differently if you are aligned with sex work to some degree? I love Eric Weinstein, like super smart guy with a podcast stuff. And he had what was it? Riley Reid. I think her name is Ashley. Riley Reid.
Why do I know this? Why do I know?
I forgot. But there's Riley Reid who's like the #1 downloaded porn star. And she talked about how a lot of people in that industry have trouble with things like getting loans, even like, coming to like school plays and stuff like that. There's just a lot of stigma formalized in like access to money or opportunities that could rise you up the socioeconomic hierarchy, but then also just like social things, like you're just looked down upon for partaking in these industries. So in what way are they treated differently? In which way is that justified, and how is it not justified? And I guess that could also parlay into another thing that you brought up about celebrity is, why do people say it's okay to violate celebrities' private lives with like paparazzi and stuff? I mean, I would say it's because you want to be famous. I mean, you're going out for the auditions and stuff. You want to be famous. So someone like Pamela Anderson is like, you tried to get these jobs. You wanted to be famous. So now you want to put yourself out there in Playboy. So now you're out there with a sex tape, almost like aligning those two as if they're the same. But I don't think
people say the same thing about like, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, how she wanted to be famous. So is it okay to violate her privacy? Like, because you wanted this. Where's the line there? What do you think it is? Because
this one feels different though. I think that
because they were famous first.
Well, they were famous first, yes. That, and also it's very intimate moments. Like you have an Instagram, I have an Instagram, you have like a social media following and stuff like that. But there are things that we do not share, moments with our children, intimate.
You don't share pornography on it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that we don't share because there's an important element of separating your public life and your private life. And I think that even if you choose to do something in the public eye, that we all have those boundaries that we want to honor. And that could go for, anyone who's in the public eye, a public author or something like that. You can say like, well, that's the price of wanting to be famous, but I think we all have a secured right for privacy. I mean, you could argue that's under the 9th Amendment of the Constitution. So at what point are you going to say like you don't deserve privacy at all because you chose to do this with your career? I don't know. I think that's a really tricky kind of slippery slope.
Yeah. And I think the reason why people think it's okay to do this to attractive people or maybe celebrities or like rich people, it's your idea of like it's okay to punch up, but never down.
Yeah. And they were, Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee at the time. I mean, I don't really know about like if he was attractive, but I guess he was. I mean, he has a big penis and stuff like that.
Triple.
Yeah. I mean,
his penis? Oh yeah, that's right. It's on the
that's the point of this podcast. Yeah. So, and she was like, like essentially like flawless looking.
Yeah.
So, they were really pretty people who seemed to have really good sex and they were rich. And like, it was just like one of those things where it's like, oh, well, we can drag them through the mud because they are
everything
young, in love, rich, good looking. It's like, let's just take them down, that kind of element. You had a friend of yours and a former client who had, during like the Sony leak, had her images that she sent to her husband.
Oh, a
leaked.
friend of mine, a celebrity friend of mine. Yeah.
And that was personal.
That's really personal.
Yes, like from email. She like emailed.
She texted
like sexy pictures to her husband. Sweet. And that all of a sudden made it out in the internet.
Yeah. And she was really hurt by that. I don't know. Like if that ever happened to us, like, let's say we were famous or whatever, like, we do have a following, but if that ever happened to us, like, I don't know. I think I know how I would react.
What's that?
I just own it. If it was something that was, especially now, I think from learning from all of these like bigger celebrities with like even bigger followings, super famous people. Like if we ever had like an intimate video or photo that's shared on the internet, I think I'd just own it. If it was like a video or like photos of me doing something wrong, like cheating or something like that, I think that would affect me more. But like if that would ever happen, just okay, own it. But it would probably be difficult for our kids if they were ever to like stumble across it.
Well, that was in the documentary that came up because their kids, like, I mean, when you're in middle school and high school and all the boys in the school and all your friends come up and say like, hey, we've watched, we've watched your mom have sex. We've seen your mom naked in Playboy a million times. Like that's a tough thing.
I have sexy pictures on the internet. I worry about that because I have, well, then again, they see how mommy's dressed on date night sometimes, but I don't know why. Well, should I feel worse about this?
Yeah, I don't know how it would affect your career. Like maybe not taking it as seriously as like a business mind. Well, I'm a high school teacher. It could affect my career in pretty bad ways.
Okay.
But it kind of
is my character already.
Yeah, and for me, it kind of is what it is. Like I'm not ashamed, but like it's not something I would want. I'm more personal about like what I want to keep private.
You are
than you are. So it'd probably affect me because I'm more self-conscious about putting more subtle or quiet or personal elements of myself out into the internet, into the world.
I don't know why I'm like that. I don't know why I'm so comfortable with it. I'm more comfortable with just reality being put on display or something. I'm okay with like people knowing how I actually am, what I actually look like first thing in the morning, or or just how I am. I don't know why I'm more comfortable with it. I think it's because of my upbringing. Like I was brought up around like a lot of lying. And then so I just rebelled against that, like maybe a little too much. I almost like probably should have shame about certain things, but I don't.
Yeah, I don't have I'm not ashamed of what I do.
Shame,
even like behind closed doors, like I try to be an open book. I try to be as honest as possible and forthright in like the things that I do and everything like that. But I think that there's also, when context is missing, it's just going to create a ton of misunderstandings, that it's more of like a headache of like, I would have to explain a whole bunch of things.
Right.
I could be seen doing something out of context that looks bad. And then it just becomes me constantly trying to explain myself. And that's just something I probably don't want to.
But isn't that life? Don't we just always have to constantly explain ourselves? I'm so over explaining myself to people that don't matter, or people that don't even care to dig deeper. I'm I don't know what it is. Maybe it's been like my experiences in business with and stuff like that over a decade now, that I'm just so okay now with being completely misunderstood. I got canceled, quote unquote, like a year and a half ago, and I learned so much. I learned so much. I learned to really not care when the worst things about you have been said on the internet already, or people have called you the worst things you can possibly think of, and you survive through that, and you realize it's like it's not true, and you realize what truly matters. In a weird, sick way, I kind of wish that for my children too, that they have some sort of experience like that really frees them. And I hope they have it early, frees them from the expectation that people have of being perfect all the time. It's like, if you care about what everybody thinks about you, it's so crippling. Your world gets smaller. That's so much anxiety. I am more afraid of being afraid, of living afraid, than of the actual consequences. It's
That's a Africa Brooke. She's great about that kind of stuff, that canceling thing. That's something that stood out to me about the Pamela Anderson documentary, is she was so hurt by the show, and then she just kept talking about how devastating it was. It's like, to some degree, it's like, I hear you, but at the same time, also like, why not like lean into it? Like, it's being anxious about it and being concerned about it isn't making it go away. So maybe you have to change. Maybe you have to shift your mindset a little bit and own it. I mean, the fact is, and we watched it, and it's, I guess that's a violation because someone's stolen private property and stuff. But as far as like pornography goes, it's extremely like meaningful.
It is.
It's two people who are insanely in love. I mean, that's kind of like their relationship is like, it was so passionate and hot, but that they fought and it got crazy because they were just almost like too intense.
But they were trying to make a baby.
Yeah, they were in love trying to make a baby.
There was even like a scene in it. Yes, we watched it. There was even a scene in it when he was like, "Are you pregnant yet?"
Yeah, she's like, when are you gonna knock me up or something like that?
And then he's like, I'm really trying. So
yeah, they were trying.
Yeah, it wasn't like this, plumbing type porn.
Right.
It's just plumbing. It was so touching.
I think that's also an element of it that really resonated with the masses, is because people watch pornography for that dopamine hit, for just like
plumbing,
the chemical release, but like to associate that with like, these people are actually in love. And it was like a time capsule, even if you'd watch it today, of 20 years ago, no more than that. Was it 30 years ago? 30 years ago. Okay. 30 years ago of this like couple who was like madly in love at the time, just like being stupid and in love. And when you're in love, you are stupid. Like the way that hijacks your brain. You're so impulsive and you do things. Too. They were married. It was a married couple in love,
sex on their honeymoon,
trying to make a baby on that honeymoon. So if it's going to be
so intimate.
Yeah, it's intimate, but it's also like, it's people getting a glimpse into something really beautiful, but it's not ours to consume because it was a personal moment between two individuals who were connected at that time in that time and space.
So Pamela Anderson, I think she's been pretty open about being financially unstable, being really bad with money, but also she was really open about how she doesn't get paid a lot.
Well, Baywatch was syndicated, and there's not a lot of money. There's a lot of money for the producers who sell it, but not a lot for the actors because they don't get like network contracts.
It's like cents.
And then she was for Playboy, and Playboy was notorious. I don't even know if they're around anymore, but like notorious for just taking advantage of these girls, because she was from a small town in Canada and was kind of discovered at like a football game and just given all this stuff. So she was extremely famous and doesn't have a lot of money to show for it. Because when you think back like Pamela Anderson's career, like what brought her a lot of money? Talk show gigs and stuff like that. Like not a lot of money in that.
Print campaigns.
Yeah, but there's not a lot in that. She didn't have like giant endorsement deals.
Yeah. No, and it paid a lot less back then.
Yeah, she's not like Kim Kardashian with like Balenciaga or something like that. She's not.
No, she didn't.
She works for PETA, which is like a nonprofit. She doesn't have a lot of those.
She had a Broadway show, and I know that doesn't pay.
Yeah, that was way later in her career. But even when she was at the pinnacle, when she was at the height, she had one movie that was like a flop. She had a few like flopping TV shows. One was called Stacked, where she was like a librarian and stacked. She had, like,
and then
she
had a movie barbed wire.
Yeah, that's what I mean, but it was a flop. So it was kind of it must be interesting because, I know a lot of people that say like, I would love to have money, but not fame. So I can still go to a ball game, walk around the mall. Like that's kind of like the dream of a lot of people, have a lot of wealth, but not a lot of fame.
Yeah.
She she had a lot of fame and not a lot of wealth. And that's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
That's because people assume that you have a lot of money.
She's iconic.
Yeah, she's iconic.
Like, I mean, I think she was like one of the top Halloween costumes last year.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Because
let's do that this year.
Okay. I'll go as Tommy.
She said that she's really bad with money. And then she says all she wants. And I don't know, this really related to me. I just want to be able to get my nails done and for my credit card to work.
Yeah.
She
turned down money. They offered her what, like $10 million to distribute the video. And she said no. And now going back, it's like, well, she turned down $10 million because she had a ton of money. She actually didn't. And he might have had money from like his touring days in Motley Crue or something like that. But he doesn't seem like, he's not Dave Ramsey. Like I can't imagine he's that great with money. And then they split up. And so for her to turn down 10 million when she might not, that might have been 10 times what she had in the bank account. Right. That's a big thing. But she seems like someone who's really stuck to her principles in a lot of ways.
Yeah, which is odd for whatever,
blonde bimbo.
A blonde bimbo, yeah. Playboy playmate.
That Playboy what?
Playboy playmate.
That applies to you because I think
it doesn't apply to me.
You look like a bimbo. You talk like a bimbo sometimes, but you're brilliant.
I do.
And I think that's part of like how you had to find your own niche in the business world is to talk to other women in the beauty industry as opposed to Wall Street and stuff like that. You're not taken seriously. So I think that's something you can relate to, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I like being underestimated. I do. I like it. I see it as a filter. And also it's like, I think women in the beauty industry, it's like a lot of us, like all we've ever wanted to be I think a lot of us, I'm speaking for a lot of us here, not all of us, but a lot of us, like all we've ever wanted to be was pretty. Like we just wanted to play with makeup and hair. Like I've loved that as a child, like, since my earliest memories with clothes, and to be able to turn that, whatever skill or artistry into like a living, like a 6-figure income. I think a lot of, you have that personality type. You have the personality type, and that personality type is typically associated with somebody that is bad with finances, bad with money, because you're heavy on the artistic, but not the strategic, logical.
Makes sense, yeah.
And I think that's why I created Pretty Rich Bosses.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're a mix though, because you are very artistic and you're also very conscientious. And so it's a weird thing. Like you're a weird mix of the two.
Fun. I like planned fun.
Yeah.
You're more
but you're very artistic. Like you design like, the wallpaper here, you designed our whole house and everything like that. But you also are like very like regimented about like, this is like scheduling and stuff like that. So it's a mix. And I think that's also why you're good at business.
Because I just know, that part of my personality came because I know what it's like to be poor and I know what's at stake. And also a lot of it also came later in life when I had a bigger why. I had a bigger reason to work hard. It wasn't just, to be able to get my nails done wherever I want. I have children now. And so that's highly motivating. I know I'm playing the long game here. I don't care if I'm misunderstood. I care about my kids.
Yeah.
So if we had intimate pictures leaked on the internet. Did you answer how you would react?
Yeah, I think I would just have to explain it. It might hinder my ability to like teach. Like when I first started teaching at the school I'm at now.
With your wife though?
When I first started teaching at the school I'm at now, if you remember, a bunch of one of the teachers came up and they're like, "Hey, I don't know what your wife does for a living, but like a bunch of kids started Googling your wife and they have a bunch of naked pictures." And I was like, naked pictures? I haven't seen any. I've looked for naked pictures of you on the internet. I don't buy it. I don't think there are some. I think I found some Photoshopped ones before, but there isn't any. And at the school I was at before the one I'm at now, when I first started dating you and we married, one of the kids had you as memory, had the background on his computer.
I know, on his on the wallpaper.
Yeah,
on his laptop.
So like it's trolling stuff, like little stuff. Like they're teenagers, so I get it.
Oh my gosh, that kid.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make a big deal about it. I didn't react. It's disrespectful. It's like, they're teenagers. I didn't make a big deal about it. I think that if something personal came out like that, I think it just could get in the way of like my job, my ability to have like some authority to talk about what I do. But overall, no, I would just have to explain. I would have to explain like, well, that's my wife. I love her. And we have 3 kids. I
really think too that, God could use that so that you have authority over people who can relate to that. Not everybody relates to somebody with a super like clean past. That's like, this is the way I think of it. It's like super unrelatable.
Yeah, but even like if you and I like hooking up got out, like that's pretty normal. I mean, we're a married couple.
Yeah.
We have sex from time to time.
Okay. Yeah. 3 times.
3 times we've had sex. Yeah. So like, I don't think it's that crazy to like, just be like, yeah, well, I hook up with my wife. So I wouldn't be that big of a deal, I guess, if it got out, but I still wouldn't want it out because the same reason I don't want a lot of things out.
Yeah. You don't even like a whole lot of moments of our kids out on the internet.
I don't.
This was a discussion.
Yeah.
I understand. I don't.
Yeah. Like wrote you a poem one time and just shared that with like your friends and about it.
Best friend. I shared it with my best friend.
Like, that's like, that's because it was like an intimate thing. And then this is, I mean, it'd be very intimate.
It's the poem.
Yeah. It'd be very intimate. Is like making coitus. So to get that out there would be.
Who knows what you say when you're in that vortex? I don't know what I say. I don't want that out. I don't know what I say. I don't.
Well, during sex, I mean, you get in the moment and you say.
I have no idea. It might be embarrassing after about 30 seconds.
Let's not record our sex sessions
anymore.
Okay, that one. Oh, hey, sorry. I'm just doing some content. By the way, do you want to grow your gram? I have the perfect resource for you. All my proven strategies of how to grow your Instagram for more clients and more bookings. Just click the link below in the description box to find out more.
Okay, what are we talking about?
We like videos of our kids from beginning to end, including conception. We have videos of conception, videos of you being pregnant, ultrasound, and then videos of them coming out, and then videos of them going to first grade.
So this is how you were born. So from the beginning all the way to the hospital.
A compilation, a montage.
That's horrible.
Just a joke.
Okay, so that's it for today's episode of Date Night, pretty much podcast. But guys, I don't know if you guys follow Will on his Instagram. You totally should, at Will Reusch. And also check out his podcast, Cylinder Radio. But guys, if you have any questions for us on date nights, feel free to just send us a DM at Real Sheila Bella. I check my DMs. Will does not all the time. So you can DM me at Real Sheila Bella, and we'll be sure to put it on the list to make episodes about. That's it.
All right, let's go on a date.
We are going to go on a date. What are we doing tonight?
We're going to the movies with our boys.
And we're
bringing the boys on a date night.
Yeah, no. We have a 3rd and 4th wheel.
Yes.
And the 5th wheel, we're leaving at home.
Yes.
But we're seeing the Titanic. Okay, so Will, I'm serious. I'm gonna walk them out right before that sex scene.
I can't watch the sex scene?
What? What do you mean?
It's a lovemaking.
No. She's like,
I showed them Die Hard.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
I don't mind the boys seeing boobs.
Really?
No, I think
you don't mind them seeing.
You can walk them out, but I've shown them like Die Hard where they throw a guy off a roof.
This is when
Isn't violence worse?
This is when I submit because I don't know how to raise men. If this was my daughter, though, I'd be like, I don't think so. Well, I'd have to talk to her about it.
It doesn't show like P and V. It's not like sound. It doesn't sound like a boot stepping through mud, right? Like it's not like a gratuitous
boot stepping through mud. Can someone find a soundbite of that? Okay. Does it really sound the same?
No, I don't know.
Okay, I need to walk them out. It's as soon as they're running through. Well, it's okay. No, I don't want to ask the questions. Answer the questions tonight.
All right.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.